Hey guys, and welcome back. More Newcastle United transfer news, as tomorrow we head into potentially one of our biggest matches in years at St James's Park as we take on Leicester City in the last 8 of the Carabao Cup. If we win, it'll be the first time since 2005 we've reached the semi-final, and I think especially as well with the fact that we are out of the FA Cup, I think the match tomorrow is even bigger than it was previously. So I think it's realistic. If we can beat Leicester, I think even in the semi-final, as long as we don't get Manchester City over 2 legs, I actually fancy our chances of potentially getting to the final. So I think it's a very good opportunity to do that. I mean, Newcastle with a cup final just doesn't happen very often. So yeah, let's not get too carried away just yet. We've got to beat Leicester first. But anyway, guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, make sure you get down there, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button as well if you enjoyed the video. Whenever transfer news comes out, I'll be getting plenty of videos on the channel. Now, the reason why I haven't talked much about transfers so far in this transfer window is because not much has happened. And I don't want to just pump videos out or just utter garbage for newspapers and articles that are obviously just trying to clickbait people, just obvious articles that just make no sense whatsoever. Obviously, the Ronaldo one was quite a big one that he came out, but literally a couple of days later, that one got snuffed out straight away. So I thought from that point onwards, I mean, if it looks ridiculous, I'm not going to talk about it unless there's more weight to it, I guess is the best way of putting it. But anyway, as well as the transfer news, we've got updates for current players. Is Saint-Maximin back in the squad tomorrow? The apparent bust-up with Eddie Howe. Is there any truth behind this? As well as that, we've got likes of Callum Wilson, Nick Pope, Fabian Shaw. Are they going to return to the squad tomorrow after being absent from the Sheffield game? So yeah, lots of stuff coming up. First off, I want to talk about the Sheffield Wednesday game from Saturday night because, well, yes, it was embarrassing that we went out the FA Cup that early once again against a League One opposition team, but I actually think it benefits the team for 2 reasons. We're going to explain why. Number one, it reinforces how bad our second string squad is. There's 6 or 7 players in that squad on Saturday that are rubbish. Just crap. I can't defend some of these players anymore. I watch them week in and week out. Whenever they get a chance, they're not good enough or they're holding this team back. And I think it's good that it reinforces the idea to the club that backup is needed, squad depth is needed at the club. I think in this transfer window now, I might almost speed things up for the club going out and trying to bring more signings in. Because we're not guaranteed to be third every single transfer window in January. So I think it's important now that we got the opportunity to finish in a very high position to get it as soon as possible. But for the second reason as well, injuries. We're playing less matches, which means there's less chance of us picking up injuries, which I think is a good thing. Yes, I don't want to lose games. I don't think anyone wants to lose games. But we've got to throw one competition away. It probably would be the FA Cup. Unless the Carabao Cup semi-final and we get Man City, then it would be a massive slap in the face that we didn't beat Sheffield Wednesday. But ultimately, I think in hindsight, it's not a bad thing that we lost the game. It's still an awful loss in the day, and I was livid with the loss. But when you think about it long term, I actually think it benefits our chances of getting a top 6, top 4 this season in the Premier League. So if you tell me now, ask me a question, would you sacrifice the FA Cup going out in the 3rd round if it meant we got top 6 or top 4 this season? I think most fans would say yes, to be honest. So I think it's one of them ones where it's a bit reactionary on the day. But, I mean, we all know some of these players are crap. And it just showed us on the pitch. It's just what we expected, really. And as for the Carabao Cup game tomorrow, as expected now, Eddie Howe will put out a better squad on the pitch with the likes of Callum Wilson, Nick Pope and Fabian Shaw all confirmed to be in the squad for tomorrow's game. Saint-Maximin is still a last-minute addition to the squad because of his illness. We'll talk about him in a bit more detail shortly. But the point Eddie Howe is making here is that all the best players are going in tomorrow. We're not pulling any strings. We're going out there with the intent of beating Leicester. And so far in the Carabao Cup against Palace and Bournemouth, the games haven't been convincing. So I'm hoping tomorrow we can get a convincing win over Leicester because, well, last 2 matches haven't been comfortable to watch. We've got a penalty shootout over Palace. And Bournemouth only won because of an own goal, despite the fact we battered them, but we still only won because of an own goal. So it has to be more convincing, I think. Leicester tomorrow, get out on that pitch and really make them pay. One question I've been getting loads over social media the last couple of days is, what's going on with Alan Saint-Maximin? Is there a bust-up between him and Eddie Howe? Is the club going to sell him? Why is he not in the Sheffield Wednesday squad? All these questions coming through my DMs and all over the place. And the first thing I was thinking to myself is, well, where's this came out from? Who said this? What journalist has put this out there? But as far as I'm aware, I haven't seen a single journalist come out and say there's been a bust with Alan Saint-Maximin and Eddie Howe. I've seen there's been a YouTube video out there, some fans in social media really reinforcing this bust-up. But there's no evidence to suggest anything. There really isn't. It's just fans coming out and, I don't know, getting paranoid or just making stuff or just coming out and just chatting utter garbage. There's nothing to suggest there's been a bust-up at all. I haven't been told any information to suggest there's been a bust-up. Eddie Howe and Saint-Maximin both said afterwards that it's been an illness. He's going to be back in the squad soon. That's the reason why he didn't play against Sheffield Wednesday. And I believed him. I don't think there's been a bust-up whatsoever. I would have been told otherwise if there was. Trust me, it would have been a big deal. There was a bust between Saint-Maximin and the manager. I don't know where this came from, to be honest. I don't know why it's gained so much traction. There really hasn't been any journalists that suggested this. There hasn't been any mainstream media that came out and made these claims. It's just been fans that came out and said this. So I don't know how it's created so much drama. I always expected Eddie Howe to drop certain players in the squad because of the fact that we play Leicester tomorrow. But with Saint-Maximin, it was because of an illness. And I fully believe Eddie Howe and Saint-Maximin that I think it is an illness. And I expect him to be back in the squad tomorrow, if not this weekend against Fulham. Now that we have got all of that out of the way, it's time to get into some transfer news now. And the first one being Garang Kuol, the 18-year-old Australian international who we signed just a few months back. He is set to join Hearts on loan just until the end of the season. Now, I've seen some fans saying dump in the squad straight away. We've got like Chris Wood, we've got this person, just dump Kuol into the squad. I actually agree with the loan move. I think it's far too early for him. This guy is only 18. He's just popped into the United Kingdom. I think he needs to settle in first before we can actually play him in the Newcastle squad. And because of his age and experience as well, he wouldn't get much game time currently at the club. So it's in his best interest that we put him out on loan until he's ready, whether that's 1 year, 2 year, until he's ready to come into the squad, because this is a sign that he's meant to be long term. He's someone that's supposed to be developed over time and then be brought into the squad afterwards. That's why Dan Ashworth's here. That's why all these new staff members are here to help develop the academy and our youth players to make them better, to actually have a pathway that gets them into Eddie Howe's first team. That was always a problem we had in the past. We couldn't develop youth players. We couldn't bring youth players in that were good enough to play for the club, and now we're trying to change that. So expect a lot of our youth players to go out on loan. I think Eddie Anderson as well didn't have a great game against Sheffield Wednesday. I probably expect him to go out on loan. These players that don't get much game time, get them out on loan, get them experience, get them come back in, and then over the next year or two, try and get them into the squad. But yeah, Kuol is off to Hearts. One other question that a lot of Newcastle fans might have is that we're now 1/3 of the way into the transfer window. More or less nothing has happened on the buying side of things. Why is that? Is the club going to buy players? What's going on behind the scenes now? One thing I think the club has always made clear to everyone is financial fair play. Now, Luke Edwards put out an article today. I know some people don't like Luke Edwards, but listen, he put out an article today. He's been going into detail about how he believes that the club, because of these Saudi Arabia backgrounds, is actually more worried about financial fair play. They believe that the rules are going to be more stricter for them, to try and put it across bluntly. So, I mean, I think the club always has the doubt about financial fair play. I think Everton's a good example of a club that spent loads and now are being punished because of their bad investment choices. So, I don't think financial fair play is going to come into place just yet. I think if we splash hard now, I think it will have a negative effect on us down the line. But obviously, we finish in the top 6 position this season. We'll get loads of money from the Premier League position, as well as the fact we're playing European football. That's further investment on a match day basis. Now, in my personal opinion, I still think we're going to buy at least a couple of players in this window. I think the club is just taking its time. I've always said that the club is looking to bring in players. They're looking out there. They're making sure it's the right sign to bring in. Instead of buying players, we're looking for the right player to bring in. It's if someone becomes available, I think the club will buy, not a case that we're going to buy for the sake of buying now. So Craig Coates put on some suggestions of who Newcastle have got in a list at the minute. Tielemans is a big one from Leicester. Obviously, James Maddis, we've got those two popping up constantly now. The thing with Tielemans being is that Leicester's currently trying to buy a midfielder, so that would open up the possibility of them selling Tielemans in this window. I've always believed in the past that Tielemans wants to join Arsenal, of course, at the top of the Premier League table. Or is it probably a better move for the player? I personally probably would pick Arsenal if I was in Tielemans' position, just due to where the club is at the minute. Newcastle wears just a bit of an outsider. As well as that Freshender, he's quite a big one because the first couple of days of the window, quite a lot popped out about him. The club he's at confirmed that Freshender will leave in this window. The 18-year-old Spanish right-back, he will leave in this transfer window, and Newcastle had him in that list constantly. So I do think he'll join the club in this window if Newcastle are quite serious about bringing him in. They do have him in his list. The club clearly wants to sign him. They had a little bit of a discussion towards the start of the window, but it's quieted down quite a bit since. The one thing I want people to take away from this video is that obviously patience is a virtue. Murder himself has said this. I fully expect the club to invest in this window. It will be wise now to do so, with the fact that we are third in the Premier League table. As I said in the intro, it's not often we're going to be in this position. We've got to take advantage of it while we have the opportunity. I think the club will buy. It's just a case of you just got to be patient. I think the club's going to wait for the right opportunity. We're not going to make a stupid sign or spend loads of money and make a panic sign. I think we'll wait this one out. I think as the window progresses further, more players will become available. Clubs will get a bit desperate to sell. That's where I think Newcastle will strike. I think now we'll be planting the seeds behind the scenes. But I think in the end, we'll get at least a couple of players in. Even if it's a loan sign, we will invest. We will bring more players in. That Sheffield Wednesday game on Saturday will mind the club of where we need to be at, because squad depth is not good enough whatsoever. We have got players in that squad that will be a hindrance to the team. Players that will make us limp over the finish line. We can't allow that to happen. Not where we are now. So yeah, apologies if you guys want a bit more concrete ideas on the transfer window. For now, things are still quiet. I think the fact that we had quite a lot of fixtures in a row as well, I think will be a bit of a factor for Newcastle as well. I think once we're past the Leicester game, I expect things to speed up a bit. And I believe in the next week, we'll see information pop out. And whatever that information does pop out, I will make a video on it. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'm hoping this video has cleared up some information for you. Apologies if it happens. Obviously, I tried my best there. We'll get past the Leicester game tomorrow. I'm hoping we win. Semi-final will be huge for this club. But obviously, depending who we get in that draw on the Wednesday night, I believe it's going to be huge for the club. So, yeah, exciting times are ahead. That Sheffield game was just a stump and a massive hurdle for us. We've still got miles to go yet. So, you should be happy. You should be confident. It was one bad result. It's not going to reflect the season. So, we should be ready to see what happens in this window. Ready to see what happens with the club. But yeah, guys, we're going to finish things off there. I hope you've calmed down a bit from that Sheffield game. I sure hell has. But yeah, that's it from me. I'll see you off tomorrow for the Leicester game.